Bitcoin and the crypto market are experiencing a miserable start to the new trading week, and the truly important topics in particular, like Japan and the labor market data, are only just starting to arrive our way today. So with that in mind, welcome to a new daily crypto update video. Yes, Bitcoin at $86,300, the market is absolutely looking terrible. So yesterday morning, we actually talked again and said, okay, 92,000, that's already critical, whether we'll even reach that. But in the end, what happened? We dropped straight through the floor around midday. And with that, Bitcoin even temporarily fell below the 86,000 mark, almost down to $85,000. We're slowly but surely moving back into long territory. Bitcoin and Ethereum longs have been closed at stop loss entry, so we fell too far yesterday for that. But the short is running beautifully, and now we're going to calmly take a look at everything, including what's coming up later today, or rather this afternoon. Just a quick reminder at the start, we have another live stream tonight at 7 p.m. So if you're interested, feel free to join us at 7 p.m. on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll post all the links later in the Telegram group. And before we get started, as always, please give the video a like. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group as well. There you'll always get the latest updates. Whenever I enter any trades or make changes to my positions, you'll be the first to know in the free group. And just a quick reminder, if you're interested, feel free to check out my partner exchange, SpinGeeks. Currently, you can get up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses. There's also this Christmas giveaway, basically, if you trade or if you're already trading. You can basically roll dice here, kind of like on a little game board. And then you can snag free token vouchers or other goodies. So just sign up below. All right, now let's get right into it. So Bitcoin at 86,300 US dollars. What happened yesterday? Not really much. So in terms of news, nothing came out yesterday, except that the uncertainties regarding the labor market data coming out today are apparently a bit higher than expected. Because today at 2:30 p.m. we have the average hourly wages and non-farm employment numbers for the month of November. Let's see how relaxed the whole thing will be. Then we have the unemployment rate, or rather the unemployment quota. And there we see some uncertainties. So on some platforms, they're talking about a 4.6% unemployment rate. On others, it's 4.4%, and some are only expecting 4.5%. So that's going to be extremely important, especially if we remember Powell's speech last week, where he also said, yeah, I think I'm paying a bit more attention to the labor market rather than the inflation data. So we definitely need to pay very, very close attention to that at 2:30 p.m. The Bank of Japan, of course, remains a significant topic of discussion, especially when we carefully look at the bond markets. Specifically, the yield is 1.952%. Still, it's bottomless. It really is bottomless. And of course, I keep hearing all the time, obviously I can't ignore it, yeah, but the Bank of Japan is already fully priced in and all that. As long as the yield on short-term bonds, or rather 10-year bonds, is close to 2%, then it's not priced in. And you have to imagine it like this. If the Bank of Japan says on Friday morning, okay, now 0.75%, okay, then it's going to happen now. And only then will the interest rates be raised. That's why you can let the carry trade run for another 2 or 3 days without any problems, and only then unwind it, meaning reverse the trade. As I said, it can be priced in so that in the end we don't fall as sharply anymore. We'll talk about the Forex markets in a moment as well, because the dollar continues to weaken there too. But still, I rather expect that the whole thing shouldn't turn out really positive, because the carry trade unwind hasn't happened yet, in my opinion. Of course, prices are falling due to the uncertainty, and now everyone is reporting on it. But there are simply many, many more factors at play here. These are simply the issues with the bond markets, which we've talked about repeatedly, especially in recent weeks, that they're completely exploding. Uncertainty is growing. Gold and silver are going to the moon and so on. These are simply major risk factors, and everyone needs to be aware of that. That's why I'd rather give a bit of a warning instead of saying, yeah, no, everything will be fine and we're going to the moon. And now, please, everyone go buy Bitcoin, because we're heading straight for 200,000. That doesn't make any sense. In my opinion, it's better to give one warning too many. That doesn't mean we're going to have a complete crash out. I never said that. But still, we're slowly moving back into the territory where, in the end, long zones are starting to become interesting again. That means, as I already wrote in the Telegram group yesterday, I actually would have liked to see the price at 84,000 US dollars, this area here, before we go up again. By the way, another interesting aspect is the two blue lines. For everyone who's new to the channel, that's the Asia range, meaning the first high, the first low that we formed in the range on Monday, or rather Monday night. And yesterday we broke right through that to the downside. Of course, that also created a nice vector candle again, if we take a look at it here. The market could still go for that over the course of the day. 50% of that candle will be right here at the Asia high. That means prices of $88,000 are definitely within the realm of possibility. Let's take a look at the funding rates. They're not that great. Honestly, they're still positive even though we just dropped $5,000 yesterday. That's not what we want to see. Ideally, we want to see negative funding now, so we know great, people are shorting, but that's not what it looks like right now. Let's take a look at the heat map. The heat map is getting emptier and emptier. It doesn't seem to me like more and more liquidity is building up here. Quite the opposite. Even in the range we moved in yesterday, or rather where we were sold off, you can see for yourself there are hardly any large orders there. The next big chunk would only be between 93 and 95,000. We still have more liquidity in terms of orders. Down around 72,000 to 73,000 US dollars. There's more liquidity down there from the orders than up here. At least almost as much. That's the point that's making me a bit uncertain at the moment. That's why I'm still positioned short. Yesterday, I only took profits, just so you know. Otherwise, for now, it's just a matter of waiting. Of course, we could still go up during the course of the day today. It's especially interesting if this whole move happens here by 2:30 p.m. Then we'll probably also know what will happen afterwards. So just be careful. Let's move over to altcoins. Ethereum, as I said, my long position is closed. After I told you I doubled it, that's exactly what happened. After that, my entry was at $2,900, and last night we dropped to $2,867. That means for now, Ethereum is closed. It doesn't matter, it made good profits, that trade. I'm also going to wait and see here for now to decide how I'll proceed going forward. At the moment, the risk is too high for me to get back into any trades here, especially any long positions, because the market is just way too volatile. Let's take a quick look at the funding rates for Ethereum just to see if the market picture has possibly changed there, so we can take a look at that as well. It's mixed. It's not completely negative, but it's also not completely positive. That means, at least for Ethereum, in the short term, it actually looks better than Bitcoin. Solana, really a death trap. Solana has looked absolutely miserable in the past days and weeks. Ever since we fell below that $145 mark at the beginning of November, nothing has been happening there. So, of course, it's a huge range that's forming here. You could also call it an accumulation range. We're back in my buying zone down here. So, if you haven't bought yet and want to use this zone, okay, do it. I already bought back then. I won't buy again. Just for your information. The zone is valid once, and after that, it's no longer relevant. But Solana also looks miserable. So, from a chart perspective, sure, it's a huge range for accumulation. Okay, all well and good, but also Bitcoin. The only positive thing here is the funding rates, which look very, very good. Seriously now, they really do look good for Solana, at least for a rebound. But otherwise, the market is pretty broken, you have to say. So let's move over to the traditional markets, which are much more interesting. Let's start with the dollar. The dollar is falling, and the euro is, of course, still rising, or rather, as I said, it could now have reached the target for wave 3. We already talked about this yesterday. The best case here would be $1.20. USD JPY continues to fall. I already said it yesterday. I will be paying particular attention to this currency pair on Friday morning. How will this currency pair behave? If it falls completely mercilessly downward, then that could in turn have consequences. Of course, also for the bond markets, which would then come under significant pressure. And that will be an interesting fact, of course, to see how Japanese government bonds behave. If interest rates are raised, will they fall or even continue to rise? It will also be extremely important to pay attention to the wording. At the moment, another rate hike is expected in 2026. If only 2 or 3 are being discussed, in my opinion, that's not priced in. So please be extremely cautious here. We've already taken profit, plus the stop loss at entry is running, so for now we're very well protected. Gold, yes, took a small drawdown yesterday. Again, I hope, and I really mean this seriously, I hope that on Friday we actually get a complete pullback here, just so that the uncertainty factor is reduced a bit, that gold finally gets a correction, and we can hit our targets on the downside, so that we might still be able to reach somewhere around $3,700 here. Otherwise, silver. Same story yesterday. Pullback, no higher high formed, lower high, volume is slowly decreasing. I wouldn't short it. As I said, the bots are still running on Pionex, our short and long bot. I haven't changed anything there. You can check it anytime. Then yes, the traditional markets, DAX stable, Dow Jones eased off a bit yesterday, Nasdaq dropped significantly. We already talked about it yesterday, or rather also in the live stream on Sunday. Lower high. The signs aren't exactly the best right now. The S&P 500 has, at least for now, missed my short entry. I hope we don't miss our short entry here again because of 80 points, no, 60 points. We've had this issue before. Let's see how the whole thing plays out. And then, of course, there's the Russell, which is currently behaving very well. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it yesterday in the video. The problem I currently see a bit on Twitter and YouTube Germany is simply this whole FOMO act, trying to get you back into some positions and saying, hey, everything's fine. Best example, where did I find it? Here. There are Twitter channels, for example, that basically post things like Binance bought for BTC Coinbase bought, and who knows what else. The biggest Santa rally with billions in shorts. Liquidation is about to start. That was yesterday, sometime I think in the morning, and 23 or 22 hours before that. This Friday, Bank of Japan will hike rates to 75 basis points. And yeah, we are likely going to 70,000. And you just have to put up with this kind of bullshit all over YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere right now. That doesn't help anyone. I mean, if within 5 hours people are saying, yeah, to the moon, and then 5 hours later, oh no, Japan is raising rates. Ah, shit, come on. Now we're heading towards 70,000, and that kind of bullshit, it doesn't help at all. It's exactly the same with the Russell. I don't think I really showed you this in the videos yesterday. Where is it? Where is it? Here. 40% of the Russell 2000 companies have no earnings. Yo, congratulations, the low and small caps. They simply haven't generated any earnings, or rather, they're not making any money. And then you want to tell me that when the Russell hits its all-time high here, the altcoin season will start. Sorry, guys, it just takes 2 minutes. Use a bit of common sense and stuff like that. I know I'm not the most bullish person here on crypto YouTube or anywhere else, but it doesn't help you if I tell you we'll be at 200,000 tomorrow when the economic situation is just complete bullshit. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest, or rather, you can illustrate it best with examples like this. Then, yeah, demonstrate it. Think day by day. Don't think, how should I put it? Don't already start thinking about the next bull run or anything like that. Bear market bottom and stuff like that. Observe things day by day. Today, the market could already look completely different again. If we get our data and it looks absolutely terrible, then the bottom will probably come sooner than any of us would like. All right. With that, I'd say that's it from my side for now. Thank you very much for watching. I still hope that all of you will tune in tonight when we see each other for the live stream at 7 p.m. I'm definitely looking forward to it, and otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. We'll catch up again this evening. Until then, bye-bye, and as always, stay creepy.